So it's been a minute since I've been home, and well, actually today's Saturday and I was just here Wednesday night. So late, about 11 p.m. on Wednesday night, my sister Charlie and I all came out here and harvested half a gallon worth of okra off this heavy hitter okra, and now there is all of this okra left, and I'm just gonna cut it off. I could not figure out what to do for a basket. I was just gonna use a gallon bag, and then I saw this little play basket of my daughter's, literally for her play kitchen, just sitting on the shelf, and I was like, that's perfect. I'm going to use that. I'm picking off all the okra. Even these are about perfect size, just 2 to 3 inches long for this okra. This is a heavy hitter okra, which is a type of Clemson spineless, and what happened was it was picked for and chosen, the seeds were chosen for the highest producing plants. And the first year that I grew this, I did not have a good experience. I was frustrated. I thought maybe the seeds got switched because some of them just did not grow well. Of course, it was really dry that year, and usually okra grows extremely well, especially anything Clemson spineless variety. That's one of the first okras I ever grew all by myself, and it did really well. So I was kind of surprised when a variety that was supposed to do the best out of that and save from the seed did not do well. And a lot of our viewers told me to give it another try, and I did. And look at this. I mean, this is one plant, right here. It has so many branches branching off of it, and then so this is the plant. It has this second branch over here, which has all of these flowers producing that haven't opened, and these okra on it. And then here's a third section of this one plant, and again it's gonna have all these flowers that are gonna open and produce okra. You can see one flower that's really close to opening. Here is the flower when it opens, since they're related to hibiscus. Aren't they gorgeous? Hibiscus is actually one of my favorite flowers, that and sunflowers. And then here's a small okra, and then here is one that's way past its prime, right? So I'm gonna just clip that off with a hand you can't see. Look at that. That is huge. You can kind of see it compared to one that's more closer to the size you want. Some of these giant okra, if they stay in the shape I want, which usually fairly straight, and they're thinner, I do not like that kind of hill country style okra that is really short and squatty. It's just way woodier for me. So I like to pick them that produce well, the plants that produce well and then are longer and thinner are where I like to pick my seed pods from. And I definitely see a couple that have gone for way too long, but instead of letting them dry on the plants and risking slowing down production, I'm just going to go ahead and pick them and let them produce seeds, or by drying on the counter, kind of out of the way. And I'm walking over here, and here's a pretty good example. It's a little crooked right here. This is what I'm looking for. And then look at this over here on this plant. First of all, let's talk about how this plant is 4 feet tall and has all of this at the top of it. And then look, here is probably a good seed pod, and this one is a good seed pod. This one's better because it's not as squatty. You can kind of see how this one's bulging out some. But just look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 okra already. A little fuzzy bug that we don't want on there. And then all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and maybe 12, 13 unopened flowers. I mean, this really is incredible. And then I didn't notice this, but down at the bottom of this plant, we have all of this okra down here, and then another branch way lower right there that has baby okra on it already. And so that means I really need to look down the backs of all of these okra plants, because there are probably a lot of okra everywhere hidden down, because these don't just produce at the very top, they branch out really well. So look, this branched out, this branch and that all at the top. That's pretty nuts. So I would definitely say that I'm starting to like the heavy hitter okra. The one thing I'm not sure I like too much is that it seems like it has more, it's more mucusy, more mucilage. I always have a trouble pronouncing that word. Than a lot of other okras, especially other forms of clumps and spineless. That's one thing I don't like, because I don't like it to be overly slimy, because not everyone will really enjoy it then. But look at this. Look how stiff this okra plant is. Literally set the little basket on top of it, and then it's really crazy to watch. Now, I will say, this whole area used to actually be the chicken run, and what happened is that I took it down this year, and when I did, there was basically no grass. There's some now, obviously, because I haven't done anything to maintain it. My parents did mow all back here. You can kind of see this whole open area. But in this area, before anything grew, I went ahead and broke up the soil, and planted seeds in it, and then planted all of these okras are kind of in rows, and allowed them to grow wild. So these haven't really been pruned, except for when there are leaves that have a lot of bug damage, which did happen after all that crazy rain that we received. You can even see a little tallow tree growing down there that needs to be pulled out. And just the amount of okra that's grown with very little care. We're not even watering these, so these have been purely just whatever rain has fallen, that's it. And you can see the hills have even planted, but it is growing so well. I know I made a video saying this has been the best second chance okra, but truly I am just absolutely amazed at how well this okra has done, and I'm so excited to show off how much we're gonna get from harvesting. So one problem is my clippers are older, clearly. They've seen their better day, and this, once it gets so thick, I mean, just look at how thick it is. Kind of, you can see what I mean by it gets woody, and the ants seem to like how juicy it is. Fire ants, I swear, the bane of Texas gardeners' existence. This is the tallow tree that was kind of growing in between the okra. If that tells you how much weeding I've done around here. None. This is where I'm at so far. And I still have so many more plants to harvest from. Okay, so this is what I've harvested for 2 days off of those plants. The really long one on top I'm gonna save for seeds, but everything else is a perfect size for eating. So one looks a little rough. That's kind of where the ants were picking at it, but overall, considering I just picked this late Wednesday night, after 11 o'clock at night, and I already have this much, that's insane to me. I think that if someone was out here picking okra every single day, they would produce even more. Now I've kind of moved on, and this plant are the Chinese noodle beans. They are gorgeous. The plants look rough because they have been here producing since like April, May. We planted them quite a while ago, and we have gotten so many beans. This is another thing, we picked half a gallon of these Wednesday night, and you can see these were little tiny babies Wednesday night, and now they're huge. They're hanging all down here. That's insane. If you hear the guys in the background, they are planning some construction project. I'm not sure what, but probably a shop. And just look at this. Now these plants are growing wild. When I first showed them, it was literally just on this little 6-7 foot trellis right here that we made. It's 4 foot wide. I think it's somewhere between 6-7 feet tall. It's taller than me by a good long shot. And here are kind of the younger ones. And look at this. Oh, that, my friends, was a stink bug. They are literally everywhere every year, and I just can't believe how big these beans grow so quickly. I picked one that was full of seeds, so I'll eat them when they're really small, when they're incredibly long, and I'll eat them with the seed pods when they swell up, even if even if the seeds are fully developed, just what I'm going to say, as long as they have not dried. And look at this. More ants. Oh, they're everywhere. And so even, I had one today, and even with those seeds swollen up, it was the sweetest, best tasting bean I've ever had. And it has all those little beans that would be gorgeous for dry beans inside of them. Oh, it's just absolutely incredible. I should probably be using my clippers to pick these. This is small, but I'm still gonna pick it because I'm not gonna be home here for a couple weeks, and it's hot, so I don't know how many people are gonna venture outside. And on top of that, my siblings are starting school, the 4th grade and freshman year for my middle sister, which is insane to me. She's 14, so she'll be starting freshman year. I did break a little piece of that off. Look, darn it. I can't tell you how often I come out here and just eat these off the plant. Now, these are fairly small for this plant, so I'm just gonna leave them till tomorrow and then pick them then. Look at this. See what I mean? I just keep breaking it off. And I almost dropped a bean. Literally one hand picking these since I've been on camera. I mean, look how many beans I have in my hand. That is enough for a dinner for a normal sized family. We have a pretty good sized family. And look, this is one thing, is these little beetles get all over it, or aphids. I think these are, I don't know. And I'll just grab them and wipe them right off and still eat the bean because I do not care. Insects like that do not bother me because I know they can just be washed off. And it's not that big of a deal. And you can see some of them are kind of muted out. I think that some of them are poor quality just because this plant has been producing for so long. It probably needs a refresher, but I don't pull it down even though it looks so incredibly rough. You can see how much browning is on it, just because it's still producing so much. I mean, seriously. Like I said, look at this. One hand, how many beans I've picked. And I just picked half a gallon on Wednesday night. And there are more beans in here and everywhere else. So that's insane to me. Kind of one weird thing that happens with these is that if they dry out before the beans get mature, like you can see maybe one bean in here that matured. Let me just crack it open and show you. Look at that. No, it's not mature. It looks weird. That's what they're supposed to look like. Kind of. Just not as big as they usually are. And then they kind of shrivel up into this weird, I don't know what. This probably went bad on the plant. Something happened to it. So, strange.
I'm on top of the bricks. Maybe I can shove it in. Can you lift this up?
It's one way to do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not gonna catch too.
No. I was just gonna put it on.
You want me to go in the duck coop and see if I can't find more?
Maybe.
Okay.
Let's see where we're at. Oh, I got it. That's way high.
Yeah. This is so uneven.
But you really can't. So that you can tell by looking at it, but you can't feel it.
Oh, from the concrete?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Huh?
I guess that makes sense.
Well, I'm not really gonna move the other piece.
That's fair. Just very awkward and heavy. And it's what, 100 degrees? 100 and something degrees?
At least.
Too hot. There you can see where the whole thing was. Now there's half of it. With as many beans are on this plant, I truly think that if I planted this whole trellis with these Chinese noodle beans, we would probably have enough beans to last an entire year for a family of 6 or 8, unless you're eating them just every day. I don't know if you can can these beans. I've never seen anyone do that. I see them eaten as stir fry a lot. I eat them raw. We eat them with salads. We eat them as stir fry. I even chop them and put them in soup because my kids don't mind if they get really mushy. And I think the beans are just absolutely gorgeous inside of these pods and are such a good snack and so much fun to watch the kids peel them and then eat the beans. And then I'll still eat the outside of the pod or feed them to my mom's chickens. This one, it looks like it kind of went bad at the top. Probably an insect or an ant came and took a huge bite out of it or nibbled away at it. And that's how you get those little twisted pods, because they get broken at the top and they continue to dry out on the plant. I'm gonna eat this because it looks pretty good and it obviously was not gonna grow anywhere. It's just gonna shrivel up. So why not throw it in to the harvesting basket? And if you look over here, I have it full of okra and the beans. This is your sign that if you can only grow 2 plants, yeah, there you go. Just grow 2 because that is a great way to start. Obviously, this is quite a bit of food right here. So one thing I noticed about these beans, obviously they look rough, but the vines are just kind of going haywire everywhere. And so I'm going to start picking them up. I could cut these off. I don't know. This actually looks more like dirt than anything else on the bottom of these leaves. I really have no idea. I'm going to kind of shove this in here. And you guys see that little lizard in there? That is a true testament right there to Southeast Texas. Predators in the garden. I mean, I don't know if anyone up north thinks about it, but down here when I think about something to help with insect control, these little garden lizards are definitely it. This is my serrano pepper, guys. I knew they looked rough since the hurricane, but I decided not to take them out. As you can see, all these different varieties of peppers. But I didn't know is that they were going to try to produce fruit while I was gone, and everyone here forgot to water them. So this is the smallest serrano. I live in Texas, so there are some big ones, especially at the grocery store. This poor plant looks so rough because it got so knocked back by the storm. They had to really be cut back and trimmed back, and just the hurricane was rough on them last month, and so they are looking kind of rough and small because they have been knocked back so much. And I think that, except for this cayenne, which I do not see that making any kind of comeback. Here's another serrano. You can see how all the leaves are gone. I just pulled off a flower. It really doesn't need to be flowering. So actually, even look, a baby pepper. I'm going to pull all of these flowers off because they have no business flowering when that plant is that tiny. Goodness me, they look so rough. And ooh, look at this little critter. Ugh, caterpillars. And look at this, is a shishito pepper. Once again, pulling that off because they really need to bush out more. Like this one is. This is a Tabasco pepper, so it's actually still very stunted. But they need to bush out more, and that means that likely, look, this one got really tall from being shaded out by the trees above it. Then when the hurricane hit, a lot of trees got knocked out. Let me show you. So back here is a tree line, and a lot of the trees kind of got knocked down. You can see some branches on the ground, things of that nature. And up grew all of this. Well, in the process, everything grew up, and all the trees that were really small, look at this, are, well, they're everywhere, and they are overshadowing the garden. So definitely gonna have to do something about all of that. But you can see some of the poison ivy that was growing in the tree. Maybe could probably be something else, but one of the poison vines, I know I'm so allergic to it that I have scarring on my arms. See that from touching it a few years ago. And the trees, so they're just taken over the garden now that there was a lot of rain, and the bigger trees that were bad were kind of knocked down. So all the small stuff has shaded out a good portion of the garden, which is probably why these peppers are growing so tall. So what I need to come do is clip this pepper off and allow it to bush out, and then I'll let these be. That one down there probably needs to be clipped too. And then this one, I thought about clipping it back, but it's so darn tall now. It is a Tabasco plant. They do get incredibly tall, so it'll probably start producing. I see this one kind of pushing out little branches, so I think this will be fine because they are 2 to 3 foot tall. And I am curious to see if it's going to bush out some. And this one's starting to bush out, and there's one more Tabasco plant way over there also doing the same. But you can see the difference between these plants, which this one's already like 2 or 3 feet tall, versus these sad little plants over here that just got so storm damaged and so shaded out. And again, look, there are these little tiny sad looking serrano peppers, and then even really little baby peppers. I'm still gonna eat the baby peppers, to be honest, but I don't want them on the plant. That one, something got a hold of it, because these plants look so rough. They're so small, they really need to grow. Now, even though it is August here, and almost the second week of August, it doesn't matter because it's gonna stay hot, and we're probably not even going to see a freeze until November or December. So that means that these will continue to grow until it just gets way too cold. I'm gonna guess probably somewhere between Halloween and the end of November. Without a doubt, they'll probably continue to grow and not be damaged by any cool weather that we have, or not enough to stop producing fruit, or at least maturing the fruit that it has. So I'm going to pick everything off and go ahead and water this in, And you see me just kind of picking all the little peppers off. It's better to not waste them, right? Although that one looks a little rough. And I'm not going to save seeds from these just because obviously they're not the size peppers that we want. So the seeds might be mature only in this one. But it's such a small pepper, I definitely don't want to save seeds from poor quality fruit. Anyways, it's just going to give me a poor quality plant next year. And that is not the goal of seed saving. For me, the goal of seed saving is to have either a plant that is beautiful, a plant that brings me a ton of joy, a plant that grew really well, and a plant that produces a good amount of high quality fruit. And well, while I've had some joy out of these plants, it is none of the other things, to be honest. Okay, I'm gonna be honest and say I don't know how well this is going to work because I don't have a scale for produce, but I stole my mom's weight scale that you stand on, so I'm gonna weigh out the beans and see how much they are. Problem is that I'm taking too long and it does not want to wait for me. So this is in kilograms and pounds. Oh, come on.
Hello.
There we go. Let's hope.
It's ready.
Okay, I'm just gonna set this on here. Oh, it may just be too light to weigh. No. Okay, let me try it with the okra and the beans and see. £1.2 total of 1.4 pounds. Let's see if I can just weigh the okra on here. What a mess.